Good morning. So there was rain, and then there was 6 yards of mulch. There's a holiday in there. I filmed a bunch of stuff, but I tried getting fancy. It didn't really work. So today, let's keep it simple. A camera, a tripod, and let's talk about what determines the light and focus in your picture. Oh, one other little thing that we're unveiling today, and let's kick it off right now. Hello, people! What'd you think of the cartoon? That's a Hamsterneck. That's me, kinda. Okay, I'm Lisa Hamsterneck, and this is Hamsterneck, Lakes, Life, and Photography. I had a lot of excuses, you heard, for why I haven't gotten one done quite as fast as I meant to, but I'm not too far off. I think I'm a week behind. So, Aperture. Aperture is part of the 3 things that determine really what your picture is going to look like. You have shutter speed, which is how fast your shutter opens and closes. You can have it real fast, you can have it open for quite a while and then shut. ISO, the second part of the triangle, is, I call it fake light. You boost the ISO when there's not enough light. Be careful, if you boost the ISO, you boost the graininess. And the last thing is aperture. Aperture is how wide your shutter opens. So we talked about the shutter speed is how fast. But if it opens this far, that is going to have a really small number, like f2.8. And to confuse things, if it's a really small opening, it's going to have a big number, like f16. They try to confuse you. So remember, big number, little tiny hole, small number, great big hole. Got that? Good. The reason this matters is your depth of field. So if you have a great big hole and a tiny aperture like f2.8, then your depth of field will be very small. What that means is, if you're focused on me, everything behind me will probably be pretty blurry, and maybe even the stuff closer to the camera will be blurry. If you have a wide aperture, then you can get everything in focus, everything from far away to up close. So if you're taking a picture of mountains in the distance and you have something in the foreground you want to get, like some rocks or some wildflowers, you're going to want a wider aperture if you want it all in focus. You want a little tiny hole, big number. If you wanted it to be where the flowers are in focus, but that mountain in the distance is sort of there but blurry, then you're going to make the f-stop number go down and the shutter open up. All you really have to remember is the f-stop number goes down if you want background blur, mostly. We'll just do general rules today. And that's what we're going to talk about. So we'll keep it simple. Tripod, camera, shutter release. Remember, you don't need one of these. You can use the delayed shutter setting on your camera. I explained that in a previous episode. I'll put that up here. And I have a Nifty 50 lens, which is used a lot of times with portraits, and it's not very expensive as lenses go. Now, what I want to do is take a picture of these flowers, and I want the background to be blurred out. And right now, I have it at f11. f11, if you remember what I said, that you have a very small hole, but it means that you have a very big depth of field. So in addition to the flowers, I'm going to get quite a bit of the background of this room, the window, maybe the furniture over there. I'm going to put it all the way down to 1.8, and we'll take a look at the difference between the previous one and this one so that you can see how much of the background is in focus or not. So obviously the one on the left has the f11, and you can see in the background the windows and some of the wall hanging. On the one on the right, which has the smaller f-stop of 1.8, the background windows are blurred a little bit more. You can't really see the wall hanging, but the picture's still beautifully in focus. So that's the difference in aperture and depth of field. Obviously the composition on this is not great. I'm simply doing this so that you can see the difference in the background. I'm also going to switch lenses to a standard size lens so that you can see that you can do it with that too, even without this Nifty 50. All right, so this is an 1850 to 55 millimeter The f-stop goes as low as 3.5 to 5.6, depending on what millimeter you have it on. And this is generally the lens that you get when you buy most of the T6 or T6i or whatever lenses. And same thing, I'm gonna get this in shot and I'm gonna take it at an f11. Now I'm gonna stop this down as low as it'll go to the 4.5. And there's not a whole lot of difference because of the different lens. That's part of the reason why people like this little nifty 50mm 1.8 lens. Another way to get really nice background blur is to use a longer lens. So now I have the 55 to 250mm. It has an f going down to a 4 to a 5.6. Let's switch it out and take a look at that. But I'm going to show you the difference here between the same f11. Did you hear that? Did you hear how long the shutter went? It's because, like I said, with an f11, you've made the hole of your shutter very, very small. And in order to get enough light, it had to leave the shutter speed very slow so that it opened and shut and let in a lot. All right, we're gonna crank it down as low as this will go, which on this lens is at this setting, it's a 4.0. And when you look at the pictures, you can see that the f11, everything in the background is much more in focus. It's a much busier shot, whereas the 4.0 aperture, the background has a nice blur to it and the focus is a lot more on the flowers. So that is the difference between a small and a big aperture on different lenses, and that makes a big difference. The nice thing about using a telephoto is if you're shooting something that's close to you, you do get a nice background blur, or you can. That's one of the advantages of trying to use a zoom for example, for headshots. Same thing, because when you use this or you use the 50mm, you get a better background blur. Hi there. So how was that for simple? Camera, tripod, shutter release, and some different lenses and some aperture. So hopefully this showed you how you can change your depth of field and get some background blur. If you're shooting something closer up with a zoom lens, that's one way to get it. Or you can get one of these little nifty 50mm lenses. And I really like this lens. It's really nice. It's not so good trying to do it on this medium-sized lens. I hope this was helpful to you. If it was, do me a favor and hit the like button and the subscribe button. If you hit the little bell symbol, then you'll be notified when I put out another episode. If you have ideas for content, do me a favor and say something in the comments. Like, I was thinking about doing an episode about composition and how to, I know we talked about leading lines before, but maybe the rule of thirds or how to figure out shapes in your pictures. Both of those are really helpful in composition. That's one idea. Or let me know what ideas you have. Let me know if you like the cartoon too. I felt like I needed something at the start of this crazy thing. The person who did that, I got through freelancer.com, and he did a nice job. He or she, honestly, I'm not sure if I know whether it's a he or a she, but I will tag him in the notes below. So I hope this was helpful and enjoy your adventure. Peace.